Hey guys, what's up? This is Gormizer, and I'm here again with the SPL predictions video for Week 5. Last week was some mixed success, mainly because there were a lot of, interesting matchups that didn't go exactly how I foresaw them. And honestly, this week's going to be just as weird because there's been a lot of roster swaps here. And, knowing that there have been some roster swaps for these teams is going to make a little bit of a difference. In the very first matchup, Envy versus Denial, Denial dropped Skeleton to pick up Masked, while Envy dropped Masked to pick up Eonic. So in this matchup, you have two teams now that have changed their junglers out. Both of them thinking for the better. And when it comes down to it, Denial, as a team, isn't really as strong as Envious. Masked, honestly, after the way he's been playing in the SPL, I don't think is going to be actually an asset to Denial. I think it might actually hinder him. And because of the way Eonic played in Week 1 for Envy and with Envy, I think that Envy is going to be coming back this week much stronger, 2-0 to Envy. Going into the next matchup, Eager versus Randozos. I mean, this one's almost impossibly easy. Randozos not only... So, Skeleton is now back on the Randozos. They lost their jungler, who was Eonic, to Envy. Polar Bear Mike left, though, and without a support player, and as of the recording time of this video, they still haven't gotten one, versus what we saw Eager do to Enemy last week. Eager is obviously hungry, Randozo's not really having a strong showing, Eager gonna take that 2-0 easily. Enemy versus Soar. Now, Enemy just lost 2 games last week versus Eager. It was on Monday, actually, so I guess it was only a couple days ago, but the problem really that came with that is the fact that they showed themselves as... While they are still this powerhouse, they have some weak spots. Pain Devion got on Twitter saying he wasn't really as focused, but the question really here is, will, Herwind and his crew on Soar Gaming be able to pull off what Eager did, or even just get a 1-1 trade with Enemy here? And I personally believe that they will be able to take a game. I'm not entirely sure if they can take 2 games. I don't think Soar is strong enough. But that being said, because of the way Pain Devion talked about it, I absolutely believe that Enemy is going to be coming back into this a lot more well-practiced, which is my inclination to take it away from Soar. So I think I'm going to give that one as a split. Enemy not really playing as well as they have been the last couple weeks. Soar, however, showing up a lot harder more and more often. They did get 2-0'd by Eager, but when it comes down to it, they're still, a good team. Dignitas versus Torpedo. So this is another one of those matchups where, one, it's kind of in the same hodgepodge everything else is, where you don't really know who exactly is going to be able to get the win out of this. Suntouch and Shadow Nightmare on Dignitas, and even Dark Dodo for that matter, have been playing relatively well in the past few weeks. However, Torpedo has slowly been getting better. They started out kind of rough, and they've gotten a lot better. Dignitas started out rough, and they've gotten better. And I don't think really either team has a distinct advantage. I'm going to have to call this one as a split, neither team really being better than the other. Okay, for the next matchup, we have Cringe Crew versus Leftovers, and this one's going to be an interesting one, because Leftovers has been showing a little bit of signs of life. Most of their games, however, have been against teams like Dignitas and, more teams that would be kind of down near their rung of the ladder, a little bit lower on the listing than you would see Cringe Crew, who is the only team at this point to have taken a game off of Panthera. They also managed to take a 1-1 split with Paradigm last week. I thought Paradigm would win, but Cringe Crew showing that they do have signs of life with their new solo laner Axios. I am wondering, we saw them take the game off of Panthera with Defiance, their coach. And so now I'm wondering how Axios is going to work out for them. However, because of the way Leftovers has been playing versus the way Cringe Crew's been playing, I'm going to have to go ahead and give this one to Cringe Crew. For Panthera versus Fnatic, so last week Fnatic had a doubleheader, once against Torpedo and once against Hungry for More. They went 1-1 with Torpedo, and they got 2-0'd by Hungry for More, and that put them to 3-9 at the bottom of the rung. Versus number 1 in EU right now. Panthera wins that very easily. Paradigm versus Hungry for More. So Hungry for More did manage to take 2 games off of Fnatic last week, which was kind of interesting to watch, but for the most part, neither team in that matchup was really that strong. Versus Paradigm, however, who, they're 6-4. They've obviously lost a few games, but they are showing their signs of life a lot harder than Hungry for More. Hungry for More, they, I mean, in the title it says hungry, but they haven't really been playing like it, and just honestly based on performance in the last couple weeks, even though they 2-0'd Fnatic, it's going to be a Paradigm 2-0. Alright, moving on to the next one, Panthera versus Team Dignitas. This is almost the exact kind of same scenario that you would see with Fnatic, except Dignitas a little higher on the ladder in the standings in Europe, but Panthera sitting at the #1 seed. And honestly, after they lost that game for Cringe Crew, they didn't look or sound like they really wanted to lose another, and they are working hard, I can almost guarantee it. Gonna go to Panthera 2-0. For Luminosity versus Allegiance, this one's gonna be interesting. For those of you who have Smite history, you would know that most of the members, or the members on both of these teams, really kind of have a history against each other. Mainly, Lasses on Allegiance with the 3 members of Luminosity that were on what was Cloud9 before this and what was Cognitive Prime before that. And, you trace it back a long time and you have these two, these sets of players against each other for a lot. Allegiance has been, since their, switch around, the role swaps that they did on their team, they have been absolutely demolishing it. And it's been very impressive. Now, they aren't, I guess, like the top seed yet. They aren't great. They still have stuff to work on. But they've definitely shown a lot of signs of life, whereas Luminosity has actually been kind of teetering. They seem hungry, but they don't play as well as they used to. And when it comes down to it, we can't look at, oh, well, I really hope Luminosity's going to win. We have to look at, well, with the way they've been playing versus the way Allegiance has been playing, I actually think this one's going to split down the middle. Allegiance has been really good. Luminosity's been right now compared to how they normally play. But they're both still sitting around the top, and I think both teams, neither one will drop 2, is really what it comes down to. Each one can win 2, but neither one is going to drop 2. And so I do believe this is going to be a 1-1 split. For SOAR versus Team Allegiance, this one's going to be a very interesting matchup because, like I just said with Luminosity, both of these teams kind of play not inconsistently, but like sometimes they'll have a really, really strong matchup, and then the next game they'll just drop it insanely. And we saw last week SOAR versus Eager. Eager did manage to 2-0. Allegiance, I think, only got to play against the Randozos, which, I mean, that's not necessarily a great showing for them. However, they did win them very strongly. I do think that Allegiance will be able to come off with 1 game here. I don't think they're strong enough to get 2. SOAR is strong enough to get 2, but I think Allegiance is going to prove themselves. I also think this one is going to split. Then for your Monday matchups, the first game is going to be Fnatic versus Torpedo Gaming. This actually might not be correct on the schedule. I'm not entirely sure, but last week we saw them play and it went split, and I firmly believe that if they play again, it's going to be a split, neither team really being that much better than the other. And then for the very last matchup, Luminosity versus Randozos. Like I said, Randozos has just, their roster is pretty much the same as week 1, except without Polar Bear Mike, so even then, it's just not going to be as strong, especially as Luminosity, who I'm pretty sure is going to be working really hard, considering that I don't think they're happy with their play in the last couple weeks. So that's going to be a Luminosity 2-0 very easily. Alright, to just go through the quick reasoning and quick picks here, Envy versus Denial, 2-0 to Envy because the roster change really is in their favor, whereas Denial just picked back up Masked, and Masked not really proving himself as good an asset as people have been valuing him. Eager versus Randozos. Eager more than likely going to be able to take 2-0. Last week they had a really strong showing. Their teamwork has just improved immensely, and I cannot see the Randozos, after losing PBM and having to pick Skilladon back up, I just don't see them being able to take a game off of Eager at all. Enemy versus SOAR, I'm going to give it as a split. SOAR has been playing a lot better in the last coming weeks, even though they did get 2-0'd by Eager. They did 2-0 Luminosity. Enemy, however, got 2-0'd by Eager, so Eager showing itself that it's really strong, and Enemy kind of showing that they do have weak spots, and I do believe that SOAR is going to be able to exploit some of those, so I give that one as a split. Dig versus Torpedo Gaming. Torpedo Gaming and Dignitas, neither team really being that strong comparatively to the other, so I think that one's going to come down as a split. If anyone is going to get 2 games, it's going to be Dig, but I don't think Torpedo is going to let that happen. For Cringe Crew versus Leftovers, Leftovers hasn't really been showing up. They did manage to 1-1 with Dignitas, but I don't think that's really a good enough sign to say that they can 2-0 anybody. At worst, this matchup is going to be a 1-1, but I firmly believe the Cringe Crew being able, the only team that's taken a game off of Panthera, and they went 1-1 with Paradigm last week, Cringe Crew is going to be able to take that. For Panthera versus Fnatic, Panthera being the team they are at the top, Fnatic being the team they are at the bottom, after watching 4 weeks of play, Panthera is going to easily 2-0 that, and I have no doubts in my mind. For Paradigm versus Hungry for More, Paradigm has definitely shown themselves as kind of a top 3 EU team, whereas Hungry for More, they've been showing signs of life. They did get a 2-0 against Fnatic last week, but I don't think that's going to be meaning much as Fnatic is sitting at the bottom of the rung. Paradigm's definitely up higher on the listing. I do believe Paradigm is going to take that 2-0. For Panthera versus Dignitas, once again, Panthera sitting at the top, Dignitas not really being even, like, they're at the middle of the rung. And Panthera just being the team they are is going to 2-0 that. For Luminosity versus Allegiance, I don't think either team's really going to be able to 2-0 the other. I think each team is going to take one game and cause it as a split, because Allegiance has been showing a lot of signs of life lately, whereas Luminosity's kind of been slacking off. And the same thing goes for Soar versus Allegiance. Soar, they've been showing a lot of signs of life, but I think Allegiance, because of how they've been playing lately, and because of their little swap of roles that they had between their members, is going to go ahead and split both of those matchups there on Sunday for their doubleheader. On Monday, Fnatic versus Torpedo Gaming. I mean, you can even look right here on this screen. You see SPL Week 5, it says for Fnatic versus Torpedo, and you look up SPL Week 4, it says Fnatic versus Torpedo. It's going to be a split. Neither team has a distinct advantage here. And when it comes down to it, Fnatic might be able to get 2, Torpedo might be able to get 2, but it's far more likely they're going to split because neither team is really strong enough to finish a 2-0 set against the other. For our Luminosity versus the Randozas, let's face it, Randozas is 0-8. They have no real leg to stand on. They did just lose Polar Bear Mike. They picked Skilladon back up after losing Eonic to Envy. There is just not much of a chance for them without a support, as of the recording of this video, to have a chance against Luminosity, even with a sub. Especially with a sub. There's no chance Luminosity gets that 2-0. Alright guys, but those are my SPL Week 5 predictions. Hopefully they're right. Let's get some FP here, and I'll be back next week to go through Week 6.